We are at the beach today. We're testing out something pretty cool. Zhiyun Crane Weebill Lab. I almost fell. I'm still getting used to this thing. All right, so we got the Weebill Lab, possibly one of the best like compact travel gimbals out there. So let's give it a shot. Oh.
Hey, Jeff, what's up?
How do people juggle? This is so difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. The first 2 throws are getting there. 1, 2, oh shit. 1, 2. That's the first 2 right there, right? 1, 2, 3. Oh, oh. See that? That was 3. 3 throws and 3 catches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. I'm gonna get to 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very primal sounds are coming out of my mouth right now. 37 minutes in, I'm getting there. I'm tired, I'm not gonna lie. I'm literally sweating right now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh! Why do I keep trying to hit it with my head? It's like reflex. I'm like trying to save it. I'm trying to catch it with my head. I need to stop that. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah! I actually really broke a sweat on that one. 48 minutes it took me to do that. My God, I'm actually sweating from trying to learn how to juggle. How embarrassing. I'm gonna take a shower. I'll be right back. And we're back to take another look at the Zhiyun Weebill Lab, or Zhiyun is actually how it's pronounced properly. Zhiyun Weebill Lab. After shooting with this gimbal for a few days, there's a few things I love about this gimbal and a few things I hate, so let's go down the list. First of all, what's unique about this is how compact it is and how lightweight it is. It weighs like nothingness. So that makes it a great option, especially if you're like traveling somewhere or you just need to throw it in a bag with limited space. Now, if you're looking for a bigger heavy duty gimbal that can hold like a 1DX or much larger cameras than this, then I can just save you a bunch of time right now. You can exit this video, go watch something else. There's a bigger brother, the Lab 3 of this, or the Ronin S, or even something like this, the Moza Air 2. This will not get you very far with bigger, heavier setups. But again, we like this because it's small. I mean, really, this is all you need to get going. So you can just take this and stick it anywhere you want. And I also love that it has a lock for every axis. So if you throw this in a pocket or clip it somewhere, it's not gonna flop around. It stays nice and tight like that. So if your camera setup isn't that big and you're just looking for something very compact like this, then this might be your best bet. It does also come with these styrofoam cases, which I actually really love because it's not like a heavy duty hard case, but it's definitely nice to have and strong enough to get you through some light use. You guys probably already noticed that this gimbal looks different from all the other gimbals out there, which I love. They're being innovative. They're trying something new. I love that. So you could throw this handle up here and then you got like a dual grip here, but also you could enter underslung mode just like that, which is actually a pretty nice, comfortable mode to be in, especially for those low angle shots. So yeah, I actually kind of dig this mode, and just having that extra handle back here, it feels pretty good. One of my original complaints was that my hand was starting to cramp up a little bit because my hand's trying to hold this thing, but there's all these buttons here, so I kept bumping buttons and it just kind of like cramped up my hands. But it turns out if you double tap this LV button right here, it locks all of the buttons up front, and if you press it 3 times, it locks all the front buttons as well as the side buttons, so you could grab it and you don't have to worry about pressing anything or sliding any of these things around. So that's awesome. Problem solved. After looking back at some of the footage we shot earlier, I did notice a lot of the shots were a little bit jerky, especially when I started turning the gimbal. It would just kind of jerk instead of just floating over. And this is something I also noticed in the earlier Zhiyun Crane 2. Same thing here. I just had to go into the app, I had to make a custom setting and just dial that sensitivity opacity way down so I could get super smooth motions. And I do feel like they should just start shipping these out by default with that smoother profile enabled, but it's a fairly quick fix, so definitely not a deal breaker. Once you get your settings dialed in, this is definitely a solid gimbal, so no worries there. By default, it comes in pan follow mode, so whenever I move this around, it follows the pan, but it does not follow the up and down tilt. To adjust the tilt, you can just grab the camera and tilt it, which is kind of cool. You could also use this joystick, but one thing that bothers me is that follow mode is probably the setting I'm in like 90% of the time on all other gimbals. I want it to follow my pans and my tilts. Currently, you have to hold down the trigger during follow mode, and you can't access consistent follow mode without using the app. And I hate connecting phone apps, so if there's one thing I really wish this had, was just a follow mode that you could just easily access through this without having to hold down this trigger. At least you can access POV mode, which is somewhat similar to follow mode. You got your tilt as well as your pan, but it also follows your roll, so that's cool. But a lot of times I literally just want follow, so I just want that tilt and pan. You could also enter lock mode, so now I can move this thing however I want, and it's always going to stay pointing in that same direction. And even vortex modes, where you just rotate the camera like this and fly around, which is a cool little effect. Ooh, I actually just got an email back from Zhiyun. They said they're working on new firmware updates, and one of the updates is that you might be able to actually enter and stay in follow mode just by tapping that trigger, so we'll see if that comes through. This also claims a 6.6 pound load capacity, which is actually pretty impressive. Now, this is the EOS R with the RF 24 to 105, and this is at like just over 3 pounds, so it can actually handle double the weight. But the thing is, you'll probably never actually test the 6 pound capacity, because since this body is so small, it's designed for smaller cameras. And this EOS R with this kit lens is a tad big. It actually does pretty well balancing and getting shots. We've gotten lots of footage with it, but it does hit that eyepiece right there. So ideally, you'd be running smaller lenses like that. That way you got plenty of clearance back here. Generally, the biggest limitation of this is the size of your camera. You're really gonna want like a mirrorless camera body with a somewhat compact lens. You don't want to be running those big fat lenses on this thing. They got a list of compatible camera setups with this, so I'll link that below. I do feel like they did design this one more around Sony cameras because they're a little bit more compact. The EOS R feels a little bit too bulky on it, so you're very limited on your lens options up here. And balancing this thing, if you're familiar with gimbals, it's very easy, very quick, very simple to do. And the locking axis can help with some of that, because not only does it lock in kind of the storage modes, but it could also be used kind of like this. And now I can just focus on getting my forward and back balance going. That's good. Now I can unlock this axis and focus on this. This way you can just do it one at a time. So that's convenient. I do actually really like the battery placement of this thing. So it just comes out back here. That way you don't have to remove a bunch of accessories to get to the battery. So that's nice. And we are running off those 18650 batteries, which I love these batteries. Lots of power. They're fast to charge and they last all day. So I dig that. Another super cool feature is this base plate. You have your standard base plate, but it also splits up into half. So you could actually take this, unscrew it, which is basically like the safety, and then pull it apart. And that's actually super helpful, because once you have it balanced, let's say like right there, it's balanced perfect. Now let's say you want to do a battery swap. Older setups, you would have to take it off and then rebalance, but this pops off. You could do your battery swaps or anything you need to do down here. You can pop it back on, and this attaches one direction, doesn't slide around. So once it's attached, you know your balance is still in that perfectly right spot. So yeah, another good thing about this is that it's Zhiyun, and they are a fairly reputable brand. Even though no one knows how to say their name properly, they sent me this one for free, but I have purchased one of their older ones. Still works perfectly fine to this day, but I did have a little issue with the first one they sent me. Okay, they asked me to send it back in and they shipped me this new one. I think it is software related, because it did happen right after I did a firmware update. Maybe something went wrong, I don't know. Also, there's this phone mount, which surprisingly actually comes sold separately, so you do have to buy this if you need it. There's a Zhiyun app that's free to download, and it connects to this to access a few more of the controls, but I don't feel like there's enough in that app for me to want to regularly use this thing. One of the selling points of this app is that you can actually hook up your camera to the gimbal and it'll wirelessly send a signal to your phone. So you kind of use your phone as a monitor, which sounds awesome. The video feed just has too much of a latency and it's too choppy. I wouldn't really mess with it. I would much rather just use the display back here or get an HDMI signal out of here if I needed a monitor. And currently the communication between this Canon EOS R and this Weebill lab is just not there. They did tell me that they are working on a firmware right now, so it should be coming fairly soon. But as of right now, I just need to keep it unplugged because it literally just freezes up this camera. And again, again, I do feel like they kind of designed this focus more around the Sony mirrorless cameras, and I hear a lot of positive things about the app in the Sony world. I haven't really tested it myself. Currently, as of making this video, it's priced at $599. That is a little bit steep considering like the Moza Air is the same exact price, and it can accept heavier camera setups, but again, we're not looking at this because it's a beast of a gimbal. We're looking at it because it's a very good option for like travel. Because looking at the Moza Air 2, there's definitely a big weight difference and obviously a size difference. And I believe the Ronin S is about the same size as this, but even heavier. Overall, it does feel like the quality is there. I think it's a great option, especially if you have a smaller mirrorless camera and you have your set of lenses already, then there's really no point in getting a bigger gimbal than you need, because it really does start to become a pain. And the reason why I bought the original Zhiyun V2 is because it was compact compared to everybody else out there, and this is kind of like the next step up in evolution. Anyhow, overall, I plan on using it. I dig it. Let's read some comments. All right, so since we have this gimbal, we might as well continue testing it out. Let's read some comments from my last video where Chris Rollins brought over a super high-speed camera and we just filmed a bunch of stuff super slow motion. I got hurt, lost some brain cells, a lot of fun. All right, so top comment was from Jan Hemstad. Was he disappointed the balloon wasn't strawberry flavored? Steve was definitely disappointed that it wasn't strawberry flavored, but I think he was more disappointed it wasn't a condom that hit him in the face. The Enthusiasm Project says, I can't wait for the 120 frames per second vloggers to start making 40,000 frame per second B-roll sequences. Oh my God, while we were testing out that camera, I realized anything past like 10,000 frames per second is like just too slow. 1,000 frames per second, still pretty cool. 10,000 frames per second, everything's so slow. 40,000 frames per second, it's just like, it's boring. Why does Gene go from a 30-year-old male to an 80-year-old woman? That was not fun. I think I'm done getting punched in the face for a little while. Bad Karma says, Jet getting punched on slow motion was funny as hell. Why do you guys like watching me get tortured all the time, damn it? Liam says, bro, that was sick by Lefty, 2019. I think that should be a t-shirt, actually. That'll be my first merch. Mohammed says, I was thinking what to comment so that you read my comment in your next video. I wasn't able to think of any. Well, I guess that worked. Sekra says, whose one wheel is that? Can we have some footage of that thing? There you go. You guys happy? I'm considering it like an investment so that I can use it to film smooth gimbal footage like this. Now I'll ride it, Sam gets to walk. Noah says, when I have a kid, I'm gonna name him Jatato Pet. Please do, I would be really happy if you just ruined your kid's life by naming him such a weird thing. But I would get a really good kick out of it, so please do so. Chris Rollins is a pro gun supporter and a hunter with semi-automatic fire weapons. Great friend you have there, Potato. I'm no longer subscribing to your channel. Is this a bad time to mention that I own guns? Eric says, I love that outro music.